Hello, welcome to Maximum Human Performance. I'm your host, human performance expert, Brad Vaillancourt. Do you ever get that feeling where, sometimes you really want something, you want it so badly, like, I'll do anything to do it, and then you go out and do it, and you're like going as hard as you can, and your mind like, okay, I'm going, but what am I doing wrong? And it turns out the problem is pointed right at you. Oh. Self-sabotage. I tell you, after helping people for the last 25 years, it is incredible what goes on in these people's mind. You know what? When I say these people, I mean me included. I am no different than you. We all have this self-sabotaging habit, and sometimes it gets to that surface and you don't know what to do. I'm going to share some pretty amazing stories today so that this will enlighten you. This way you'll know that you're not alone. Not only that, but by the end, you're going to have enough tools so that you're going to be able to recognize these patterns and go, this is what's happening. I'm going to stop it now. Did you know that self-sabotage actually helps us get to what we want sometimes? And you're wondering, really? How the hell does that happen? Well, trust me when I say this, after seeing this happen with many people over the years, this is what actually happens. Okay, now, think about this. You think you really want something. It's right up there. This is like way, way up here in the priority scale. However, there's something else just above it. And what is that? Your will to say, there's no way, no way I'm going to allow that to happen. I'm going to succeed by sabotaging myself. It's exactly what happens. You think you want it, but then it never happens. And why doesn't it happen? Because that drive to kill it is way higher. And why is that? That could be a pattern, that could be fears, could be all kinds of things that we've learned from past experiences. It could be just a fear of success, and that is usually the big one, a fear of success. Now you might be thinking, what do you mean a fear of success? I want this to happen. That's why I've been working so hard to get it done and whatnot, blah, 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 all this. Yeah, but there's this bit inside you, this could be in your subconscious and your unconscious that just says, well, you know what? If I go through this, if I'm successful at this, then what? Then what is usually the question that comes after that. Oh my gosh, well then I have more responsibility. I have to make sure that I stay up here. Once I get up here, I can only be up here. Well, after reading books about people who get to the top of Mount Everest, they don't stay up there. And that's okay that you can't stay up there, because when in life has it been just completely linear for you to go like this or even like this? Along the way, you have all these little dips and peaks, and that's okay. That is okay. But right now, let's get back to self-sabotage. As somebody who has recognized my own self-sabotage, oh boy, it can really kick you in the ass. Now, years ago, I met this wonderful woman named Tara, and she was the epitome of driven. She wanted to do anything and everything. In fact, she went from the corporate world to the startup world to the corporate world again. And then not only that, she decided, okay, her and her husband decided, let's go and start a family. Well, when it comes to starting a family, it's not easy, as anybody who has started one knows. And a few years in after that, right? And she was still at home with her children, loving her children and doing a great job. There was one aspect that she just had a hard time letting go of when it came to self-sabotage. Whenever she didn't get her way in anything that was important to her, she would immediately revert back to her 6-year-old self and start a temper tantrum and yell and scream at anyone and anything that was there, just so that she could try to get her way. That was a pattern. Now, for most people, she scared the living daylights out of them, and they would quit, they would stop being her friend, all these different things. And she found herself to be rather lonely sometimes, because what's going on? All I'm doing is telling people that I really want this. But her delivery was a very self-sabotaging way. And throwing a huge temper tantrum, the biggest one I've seen by any adult. And then what made matters worse was that her 7-year-old daughter, who also would go through this phase where whenever she wanted something, she would do the exact same thing because she's witnessed her mother doing it, and I'm sure other factors. The huge thing is that Tara didn't see this happening to her daughter. The strange thing is that Tara didn't see this happening whenever her daughter did this. And all she could figure out was that my daughter hates me. Why would somebody think that? She couldn't see it because she couldn't see the self-sabotage in herself to also see it in other people, especially her own offspring. So what had to happen? Well, after doing some work, we figured out why Tara was doing these self-sabotaging habits in the first place, going through these temper tantrums, and it turned out that it wasn't anything to do with her. It was a family member that she was able to witness this going on and over and over and over again, and it just basically got passed down from one to the next and now into a third generation. But that second generation couldn't see it until it was brought to her attention that, well, Tara, these things are happening in your own life without your daughter present. And as soon as we got to the root cause of that, which didn't take long, boy, she recognized that and realized, okay, this is what's going on with my daughter. How can I help out my daughter? And that was huge, right? You want to be able to help your children the best way possible. And so when we figured out that that was a separate issue, but still passed down, then we were able to get to the root cause and get that out. And now her daughter doesn't do that anymore. Her daughter has so much more appreciation, so much more. And it was so fast in the way that it happened. It was awesome. Tara now has a much higher value of herself, doesn't give up that power. And when it comes time to dealing with real important things in life, she is a lot more resilient to stress. And not only that, but takes charge rather than going into victim mode so often. Sometimes when it comes to the self-sabotage, it has to do with imposter syndrome. You feel like, I just don't deserve this. And there's a way to be humble but confident, but there's also a way that you think you're being humble, but really all you're doing is masking fear, masking this fear of success. When you mask this fear of success, how can you be that best self? How can you be your true self? Right? You really can't. And even though in some areas where you feel more confident, yeah, sure, you shine, but that's not all of you. That's just a part. So instead of having parts of you, you want to get your true self to flourish so that you don't have to worry about, well, I'm not confident enough, because it's okay in whatever level of development that you're at. You know that, look, I'm just going to do my best, and my best is great enough. It really is. Speaking of confidence, Devin had a ton of confidence. I mean, this guy built a construction company, an entire construction company by himself. I mean, it was amazing what he's done for himself. But his self-sabotage would come up at the wrong times. Oh, just awful times. They would come up whenever it was time for him to make a big leap. So then he would end up having to back up a few steps from the self-sabotaging problems until later on when he would try it 2 and 3 times later. And then finally he would get through when he really did not have to take those steps back in the first place. For instance, he was on his way to vacation. And when you think about it, hey, yes, I'm on my way to vacation. I'm driving up. Things are going to be great. I'm looking forward to some peace and quiet because, hey, that's what I've been looking forward to for like months, if not longer. And this guy never took vacation, so definitely months. Now, while driving, he was on the highway. Everything's going. He's got the music cranked. All of a sudden, he gets this panic attack. I mean, a huge panic attack. This guy had to pull over. He got on the phone with me right away. And luckily, I was available. I was actually at a beach. And he called me and said, Brad, this is what's going on. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I said, Devin, give me a second, and I'll get to a quieter area, which I did. I went right to the parking lot to my vehicle. And I said, all right, now let's see what's going on here. You're on your way to something that you really want, right? You've been wanting this for a long time. You've been wanting this peace and quiet to go up to the cabin and just fish and relax and just be yourself and be by yourself, away from everybody that you're usually around. What is stressful about this? And he realizes because he was afraid to get what he wanted in life. And within seconds, it clicked. He did a few techniques. And not only was he able to bring down his breathing went from 18 to 22 breaths per minute up, like way up there. And this guy was panting on the phone. I didn't have to count. You could just hear how much was going on in his life right there. So imagine his heart rate, how much that was skyrocketing. Both those things came right down within seconds. Within seconds. And it could happen for you too. He no longer feared success. He no longer feared this trip up to no man's land. He was looking forward to it again. You know what? He started his vehicle up and was on his way. And he had an amazing time. When he came back, all he could talk about was how much fun he had, how much the fishing was so great up there, and how much peace and quiet he had to just chill, recharge, get back to his construction company, and help it grow, which he did. He grew that company to double the size in under 2 years. An amazing job for himself. It's really awesome. Sometimes self-sabotage happens because we're afraid to move on to the next chapter in our life. And how does that happen? Well, sometimes life says, okay, we'll let you make the first move, but if you don't make that first move by this point, then we're going to make it for you. And that has happened to me so many times for so many different reasons. One that came up a few times was in my 20s. I had this difficult time when it came to relationships, and I was never the one to end them. Never. It was always, I was trying to make the changes to accommodate and do what I needed to do in order to make the relationship successful, whether it be a friendship, intimate relationship, didn't matter. And I was never the one to say, hey, you know what, I had enough. And it was because I didn't know that the next chapter was going to be right there. And nature took its course and always said, it's over. And sometimes it also meant my jobs. And so self-sabotage would happen. Here's one. I was doing fire suppression and I was on my break. This was well before alarms were on cell phones. Because I had a cell phone that didn't have an alarm on it. And I thought, I'm on my break. This is midnight shift. I'm going to go for a little nap. So I went and hid in a little spot in the far corner of the property, and I took a little nap. My little 20-minute nap for a half-hour break turned into 2 hours. I woke up to the radio people telling me, Brad, where are you? Brad, where are you? Like, oh, God. So I had to explain myself, and I was on day 87 of my 90-day probation. I was working 2 jobs. I was working full-time at both and then overtime on top of that. So that self-sabotage kicked in right at day 87. It said, we're not going through this anymore. We're cutting you off. And as soon as that happened, I found myself not on the schedule for the following week, and I didn't get my 90 days, which of course was a true blessing because, where I am today is not where I was then on so many levels. But this was to prepare me for the next chapter. And when that happened, that next chapter led me into something closer to what I'm doing now. And it's amazing. It's amazing what nature will do. If you feel you're not ready, nature will say, oh, you're ready. You're definitely ready. Think about a phase in your life when you thought, you know what, I just don't know what happened. But boy, my whole life shift, that whole chapter was ended and I didn't even see it. I didn't even realize that could happen. And all of a sudden, everything was going great, great, great. And then comes crashing down. It's your time to move on to that next chapter and to go into that next chapter with style and even more force behind it, because the more confident you are, the faster you're going to get through the preliminary stuff. And you're going to go up, up, up. But you've got to be ready for it by allowing whatever happened to happen and then let go of any reasons for more self-sabotage. When it comes to recognizing your own self-sabotaging patterns, first, you're going to want to think about the times that self-sabotage really hit you hard. Did it happen in school, writing a test, maybe doing a certain exam? Maybe it happened at work when there was a big decision to be made and you were on the short end of what could have been something really magnificent for you. Maybe it was in a relationship. Maybe a relationship ended and you didn't think that it was going to ever end. But you missed those self-sabotaging moments that could have helped it end maybe a little bit better, helped you at least realize what was going on, and maybe you could have made some changes earlier. Just jot down what those were on a piece of paper. Once you've jotted those things down, I want you to go back and look at each one individually, and then also write down what emotions are you feeling still about those events. Allow yourself to feel those emotions, write them all down. I would leave a space and allow yourself to be congruent with this event, these emotions, this event, these emotions. Doing that will help you to put things into a little bit better perspective for yourself. And when you've gotten through a whole list of them and you can't think of any more, and you can't think of any more feelings attached, I want you to take that piece of paper, crumple it all up, and toss it. Right? Toss into recycling. toss into the shredder, whatever is going to be easier for you, and just get rid of it. This will be a great start so that you stop those self-sabotaging habits that are still there. And right after you've tossed, shredded that piece of paper, here's what you're going to do. Very important. You're going to hit save so that the next time self-sabotage comes up, because hey, it just might. If it does, you'll have this tool and you can go right at it right away. Thanks for watching. Till next time, have yourself a great day.